Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the heart of fascinating ideas that shape our world.
You know, uh, modern life often feels like just a relentless series of high-stakes decisions.
Mhm.
Whether you're charting a new course for your career, maybe launching a bold new venture, or just trying to navigate the intricate uh, dilemmas of family life, the path forward is, well, it's rarely clear, is it?
No, not at all. Uncertainty looms, risks feel amplified, and the
Yeah.
pressure can be, immense.
Right. So how do we find our bearings in these choppy waters when there's no clear map to guide us? Well, today we're tapping into an incredibly powerful, maybe even unexpected source of wisdom. For those of you familiar with Srinivada's brilliant retelling of Valmiki's Ramayana, Rama, Lakshmana, and Hanuman, brother-in-arms, you know it's far more than just an ancient epic.
Oh, absolutely. It's packed with insights. We're diving deep into Chapter 8, where Kata meticulously extracts these profound self-help lessons. He does this by dissecting the social, the psychological, and the behavioral aspects embedded within this timeless narrative. And he shows us how principles forged, way back in antiquity can actually serve as a potent blueprint for navigating our incredibly complex contemporary world. It's really a masterclass in applying ancient insights to modern challenges.
And that's precisely what makes this deep dive so compelling, I think. We'll be focusing on a particularly pivotal moment in the tale. A truly critical decision faced by the Vaanaras, these extraordinary forest dwellers. What's so resonant here is how their ancient predicament mirrors so many of our present-day challenges. We're going to meticulously explore how their choices illuminate these universal themes.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like the delicate art of balancing risk and reward, the often underestimated strength that comes from collective decision-making, and the absolutely indispensable role of confident, informed leadership in instilling a sense of calm and direction when uncertainty is just peaking.
Yeah. Right.
This isn't just some old story to be admired from a distance. It's a practical framework, you could say, a living blueprint for successfully navigating some of life's most challenging and uncertain moments.
Okay, let's get into it then. Section 1, the Vaanaras Dilemma, a crisis of survival. So let's really immerse ourselves in this scene right from the tale. Imagine the Vaanaras. They're on this grueling, seemingly endless search for Sita, Rama's beloved wife, across a vast, unforgiving landscape.
A brutal search.
Yes, days have bled into weeks, and they've pushed themselves way beyond any reasonable limit. As Kata's retelling vividly paints, they find themselves in an extreme crisis, just absolutely ravaged by intense hunger and thirst.
Total exhaustion.
Their physical exhaustion is profound, their hope is dwindling, and they are, quite simply, desperate. They are at the very brink of endurance, facing a complete collapse. And in this dire, life-threatening state, they encounter something mysterious, almost eerily inviting, a vast, dark cave.
Right, the cave.
This isn't just a natural formation. It presents them with a truly critical life-or-death decision. On one hand, it tantalizingly promises salvation, the hope of water, sustenance, a reprieve from their agony.
The potential reward.
But the stakes couldn't be higher. There's a palpable, primal fear that this cave could lead not just to their doom, but, as the narrative suggests, even plunge them into the depths of the netherworld itself.
Wow, yeah. High stakes indeed.
It's that classic gut-wrenching dilemma of high risk, high reward, magnified to an existential degree. It's a kind of impossible choice that, in different forms, we often find ourselves wrestling with in our own lives.
Though maybe not usually involving the netherworld?
Hopefully not, no.
Yeah.
But the pressure feels similar sometimes.
What's truly fascinating here and what Kata really brings to light is how their immediate visceral needs completely override any, let's say, conventional caution.
Right.
Their physical exhaustion and that desperate, overwhelming need for water, for sheer survival, are the primary forces compelling them to even consider such a significant risk. This situation perfectly illustrates a powerful, often uncomfortable truth: that fundamental, critical necessities, like the need to literally survive or, feed your family or keep a vital project afloat, can indeed drive individuals and groups to consider bold, even perilous choices they might otherwise just dismiss entirely.
That makes sense. Desperation changes the calculation.
It demonstrates how the human spirit, when pushed to the absolute edge, begins to recalibrate what constitutes an acceptable risk. Inaction, in their case, was a guarantee of failure, a slow, agonizing death. So the unknown, however terrifying, became the only viable path to a potential future.
Okay, so they're desperate, facing this terrifying choice. And this is precisely where Hanuman, a figure of immense strength and wisdom, steps into a truly crucial early role.
Yes, Hanuman's entry is key here.
He doesn't just blindly suggest they rush into the darkness, which, might have been the desperate impulse of others in that state.
Right, panic could have taken over.
Instead, Kaddish shows how Hahnemann provides initial critical reassurance through his keen, almost meditative observation of subtle signs that others, in their state of near collapse, might have missed or just dismissed.
Like what signs?
He notices the presence of waterfowl birds that are inextricably linked to water and lush greenery, which is a clear, undeniable indicator of a water source nearby, even if it's hidden.
Ah, okay. Observable data.
These observations, though seemingly minor in the grand scheme of their desperation, are absolutely pivotal. They're tiny clues, pinpricks of light in an overwhelming environment of despair and uncertainty.
His interpretation of these signs is what fundamentally transforms what would otherwise be a blind, desperate plunge into a calculated risk.
Okay, explain that distinction. Calculated risk versus brief plunge.
Well, instead of simply rushing in on a whim of pure necessity, driven only by that raw survival instinct, Hanuman's sharp eye for detail provides a rational, almost empirical basis for their desperate decision. He identifies these subtle indicators of potential success, allowing the group to shift from acting out of pure, unbridled fear to making a more informed, albeit still incredibly risky, choice.
I see. It gives them something concrete to hold on to.
Exactly. This has a profound psychological impact on the entire group. It offers a much-needed foundation for their decision, providing a glimmer of hope rooted in observation rather than just blind faith or desperation. This significantly reduces their initial overwhelming fear, replacing it with a fragile but, well, powerful sense of purpose.
It's like the difference between leaping into a pitch-black abyss and stepping into a darkened room where there's probably a light switch somewhere.
That's a great analogy, yes.
Okay, so beyond the immediate drama of the story, this ancient scenario holds a powerful mirror to some profound human behaviors, doesn't it? It isn't just a gripping story. It sets the stage for these universal decision-making patterns we see every single day.
Absolutely.
Right down to the fundamental ways we react when our backs are against the wall and the choices we make when faced with uncertain, high-stakes paths. Let's unpack this. This ancient scenario isn't just a gripping story. It sets the stage for universal human behaviors we see every day. Okay, Section 2. Behavioral blueprints, what the Vaanaras show us. Let's start with that first one. Desperation and calculated risk-taking. So let's really unpack the Vaanaras' desperation. This wasn't a casual choice for them, was it? I mean, they weren't just deciding between two equally appealing options.
Not at all, or even two equally bad ones, really.
Their very survival hinged on this one decision. Kada's narrative makes it crystal clear that they were truly at a point where continuing on the known path, staying outside in the scorching heat without water, meant certain death.
Right. The status quo was fatal.
The only potential for life, however slim, however terrifying, lay in the absolute unknown of that cave.
Indeed. And what's truly remarkable here, and what Kata emphasizes, is how their dire circumstances didn't simply lead them to rush into the cave in some reckless, unthinking panic.
Which they easily could have done.
Absolutely. Instead, the narrative highlights this calculated assessment of potential rewards versus risks, specifically driven by their critical, visceral need for water and sustenance. This is the crucial distinction we were just talking about. It wasn't desperate recklessness, a sort of throw caution to the wind gamble. It was a considered risk, an evaluated leap, driven by absolute necessity. They weren't just blindly throwing themselves into the unknown. They were weighing the odds in a situation where the alternative, inaction, was demonstrably their riskiest choice of all.
That's a powerful point. Inaction as the bigger risk.
Yes. This illustrates a profound principle. Sometimes, in dire circumstances, taking a well-assessed risk is not just an option, but an absolute strategic necessity for overcoming challenges. The Vaanaras' critical need for water serves as the stark, primary example. It's not about embracing danger for its own sake, but recognizing when the status quo is more perilous than a well-thought-out leap into the unknown. A leap based on the best available information, which Hahnemann provided.
Right. They knew continuing without water meant death, so the cave, despite its terrors, became a necessary gamble, but one informed by Hahnemann's observations.
Precisely.
That makes so much sense. And it really forces us to confront that line, doesn't it? How does one actually perform that calculated assessment when the stakes are so incredibly high, when your gut is just screaming, danger?
It's tough. Is it about probabilities? weighing potential downsides?
Yeah. Or is there some specific framework? Like, think about a startup, for instance, running out of funds. They've poured everything into it. The traditional path, maybe sticking to their original product, means certain failure in 6 months.
A common scenario, unfortunately.
So they consider a bold, unproven pivot, investing their last dollars into a completely new technology or targeting a radically different market. How do they calculate that risk?
Well, they don't just hope for the best. They might analyze market research, run small-scale experiments, prototype quickly, get feedback.
So gathering data, like Hanuman did.
Exactly. Rather than just blindly hoping. Or think about an individual facing a career dead end, knowing they need to invest deeply in a new, risky skill set, or maybe move to an unfamiliar industry just to escape stagnation.
Right. When the current path guarantees a negative outcome.
Yes, and the risky alternative, while uncertain, at least offers a chance at success, and crucially, you've done your homework on it. You've made it as calculated as possible.
Okay, let's move to the next behavioral blueprint. Collective decision-making and trust. What strikes me here is that the Vaanaras' decision to enter the cave wasn't made by one heroic individual forging ahead alone.
No, that's a really key point.
It was a collective agreement, born out of shared desperation and, critically, shared hope, based on Hanuman's input. This speaks volumes, doesn't it?
This point about collective decision-making is profoundly important, and Kata really emphasizes its impact. The Vaanaras relied heavily on Hanuman's wisdom, yes, but also, crucially, on their own collective determination.
So it wasn't just Hanuman saying go and them following blindly.
No, it highlights the indispensable importance of trust and collaboration as absolutely essential ingredients in navigating any crisis, ancient or modern. When faced with overwhelming uncertainty, individual bravery is powerful, sure. But shared courage, fueled by mutual trust and a belief in the collective wisdom, is what truly enables a group to move forward through what seems insurmountable. Collective decision-making, especially when supported by informed, transparent leadership, where everyone understands the rationale and feels heard, fosters an immense sense of unity and a powerful shared sense of responsibility.
Shared responsibility for the risk.
Precisely. This collective buy-in is what truly guides teams through deep uncertainty, transforming individual fears into a shared resolve. It creates a robust foundation where the burden of risk is distributed, where diverse perspectives can be weighed, and the strength of many minds can tackle problems that would overwhelm any single person.
So the team doesn't just agree, they actually commit to the decision together.
Yes, they commit.
That raises an important question, though, especially for us today. How do modern teams, maybe scattered globally, working on high-stakes projects with tight deadlines, actually build this level of inherent trust and shared commitment?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Especially when the stakes are incredibly high, the path isn't clear, communication is largely virtual, and personal connections might be limited. It's not just about delegating tasks or, having Zoom calls.
No, it's deeper than that.
It's about fostering a deep psychological safety net where everyone feels confident in the collective judgment and shared purpose, where speaking up with a concern or an idea is truly welcomed, not feared. How do organizations cultivate that?
That's a huge topic in itself, but it involves things like transparency, vulnerability from leaders, celebrating learning from mistakes, actively soliciting different viewpoints.
Okay, let's pivot to the next point, which is related. Leadership, under pressure, focusing on Hanuman's masterclass. You called his role crucial. He didn't just point them in a direction and say, go. You said he reassured them.
Yes, and that's a massive difference.
It implies emotional intelligence alongside that strategic thinking.
Absolutely. Hanuman's approach offers a masterclass in leadership under immense pressure, really a blueprint for anyone in a position of influence today. He didn't just discover the signs of the waterfowl, the greenery.
Right.
He interpreted that information for the group, making it digestible, relevant, and actionable. By doing so, he didn't just calm their immediate fears. He, more importantly, instilled genuine confidence.
Okay, so it's the interpretation and communication.
Yes. This wasn't merely about discovery. It was about incredibly effective, empathetic communication and psychological grounding in a moment of near panic. In that instant of profound desperation, he provided clarity, a rational basis for hope, and a tangible direction. This perfectly demonstrates the indispensable qualities of informed and calm leadership in decision-making during a crisis. Compare Hanuman's steady, analytical approach to what we desperately seek in effective leaders today.
Yeah, what do we seek?
Someone who can cut through the noise, synthesize complex, often contradictory information, provide clarity when chaos reigns, and articulate a path forward in a way that truly builds trust and collective resolve.
So he didn't just say, hey, I think there might be water over there.
No, that would have been just conjecture, maybe adding to the anxiety. He explained why he believed there was water, linking his careful observations directly to their most pressing need. That kind of clear, reasoned explanation, coupled with a calm demeanor, is invaluable when fear and uncertainty are peaking.
It reminds me of thinking of a seasoned pilot calmly guiding a plane through unexpected, severe turbulence.
Good analogy.
They're not just executing procedures, they're announcing what they're doing, explaining why, and reassuring passengers, even when everyone else on board is panicking.
Maintaining composure.
Or maybe a lead surgeon, making precise, life-or-death decisions in a high-pressure operation, communicating confidently and calmly with their team, maintaining focus despite the immense pressure.
Yes, exactly. It's that ability to remain composed, synthesize information under stress, and provide logical, reassuring guidance when everything else feels chaotic. That's a profound skill.
Okay, moving on to the fourth blueprint, persistence in adversity. What's also absolutely critical to this story and a powerful lesson for us is what happened after they made that courageous decision and entered the cave.
Right, it wasn't suddenly easy street.
No, Kata's retelling explicitly states they faced overwhelming darkness and disorientation. This wasn't an instant solution, a magic teleportation to safety and comfort. The challenge didn't end. In many ways, it actually intensified once they committed.
The nature of the challenge shifted.
Yeah, moving from external threats like thirst to these internal psychological ones.
This is where the Vaanaras' unwavering endurance and mutual support truly shine as a core behavioral blueprint. Despite the initial relief of deciding and taking that first brave step, they were immediately met with new, formidable internal challenges within the cave's suffocating darkness.
So the decision was just the start.
Exactly. Their collective resilience was absolutely vital in the face of this continued disorienting adversity. It wasn't just about the daring decision to enter. It was about the sustained, arduous effort to navigate the unknown, to keep going step by painful step, even when the light at the end of the tunnel was nowhere in sight.
Or seemed impossibly far away.
Yeah, and the very concept of an end seemed distant. This powerfully demonstrates the profound importance of resilience, not just getting in the game, but persevering when the going gets tough, when the initial optimism fades and the path remains stubbornly unclear.
It's about sticking together.
Sticking together, bolstering each other's spirits when individual resolve falters, and pushing through discomfort, fear, and disorientation. In real-world terms, this means understanding that the initial courageous step is often just the beginning.
Right.
The real test often lies in the sustained effort that follows, especially when the initial enthusiasm gives way to the grinding, often monotonous reality of the challenge. Companies often pivot with great fanfare, but the real struggle is that long, dark tunnel of execution afterwards.
It connects so deeply to our personal struggles, doesn't it? The initial leap of faith, whether it's starting a new business, embarking on a challenging personal transformation, or committing to a difficult academic program, that's one thing.
The big decision.
Yeah. But continuing when the initial excitement fades, when things get tough, when you're disoriented, can't see the next step, and doubt creeps in, that's where true resolve is tested.
Absolutely.
And it's precisely where the unwavering support of those around you, your team, your friends, your family, becomes indispensable. They become like your eyes and your hands in the darkness, helping you navigate.
Well said. That mutual support is critical.
Okay, and the final point in this section. Unexpected reward. After all that desperation, that calculated risk, the collective effort, the unwavering persistence through blinding darkness, then came the powerful payoff.
Yes, the culmination.
Kata's retelling brings it to life. Their daring decision led to an unexpected and bountiful reward. It wasn't just survival, it was abundance.
This outcome is the ultimate validation of their courage, their collective foresight, and their sheer tenacity. It reinforces the profound idea that calculated risks, when combined with wisdom, collaborative determination, and unyielding persistence, can indeed lead to significant and profoundly positive results.
And often results that far exceed the initial expectations.
Precisely. Kata describes this outcome as serving as a beacon of hope, which perfectly captures the inspiring optimism that such successes can instill, even in the face of deep, pervasive uncertainty. It's a powerful narrative that confirms that sometimes the greatest rewards lie just beyond the threshold of our comfort zones, especially when we approach that threshold with thoughtful preparation, collective resolve, and a willingness to endure.
It validates everything they went through.
Every fear conquered, every step taken in the dark, every moment of mutual support. The reward wasn't just survival, it was an abundance beyond their immediate need, proving that taking the right risks and sticking with them can open up entirely new, unforeseen possibilities. It sort of reshapes their understanding of what's possible.
You know, what strikes me about this isn't just the fact of the reward, but that it was unexpected. The Vaanaras journey isn't just a story of survival from ancient times. It's a masterclass in strategic decision-making that perfectly translates to our incredibly complex, fast-paced modern world. It's a blueprint for anyone or any team facing a daunting challenge, encouraging us to look beyond the immediate, obvious solutions. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Vaanaras journey isn't just a story of survival, it's a masterclass in strategic decision-making that perfectly translates to our modern world. Okay, Section 3. Bridging the gap, modern applications of ancient wisdom.
Let's make those connections explicit.
Right. Let's frame this in our contemporary context. Individuals and teams today are constantly facing situations that demand significant risk-taking. Whether it's taking on a new job in an unfamiliar industry, launching a bold new business venture in a volatile market, or making a major life-altering personal change.
Like moving cross-country for a dream opportunity, maybe.
Exactly. The essence of the Vaanaras dilemma resonates deeply. We don't face, hungry lions in a cave, perhaps,
Thankfully not.
but the psychological pressure can feel just as intense.
The direct parallel to the Vaanaras is crystal clear here. The critical takeaway for us is the absolute necessity of balancing our immediate pressing needs with a careful, nuanced assessment of potential risks and benefits. Kata's work explicitly warns us that desperation should not cloud judgment. This is vital. While the Vaanaras were desperate, Hanuman's keen observations and analysis provided the necessary calculation.
Right, the calculated part is key.
So it's not about acting blindly out of panic or simply hoping for the best. It's about recognizing that sometimes taking a calculated risk is not just an option, but an essential strategic step to overcome dire circumstances, especially when inaction guarantees a worse outcome.
Can you give a modern example?
Sure. Consider a well-established company needing to invest heavily in a new, unproven AI technology, or enter an emerging, highly competitive market just to stay relevant and competitive in a rapidly evolving landscape.
High risk.
Enormous risk, yes, but the risk of not innovating, of standing still, might actually be existential for them in the long run.
Okay, so inaction is the greater risk there.
Potentially, yes. Or think of an individual who, after years of feeling unfulfilled in their current stable career, decides to pursue an entirely unconventional path owing to a deep personal passion. Perhaps becoming an artist or an entrepreneur, even though it entails significant financial and social risk.
The big leap.
Huge. But in both cases, the risk is perceived as a necessity for future growth, or even survival in a sense. It's about discerning when inaction is truly the greater, more insidious risk.
Okay, let's talk about fostering trust and collaboration in today's teams. How do we bring the Vaanaras' reliance on Hanuman and, crucially, on each other directly into the corporate boardroom, the startup garage, or the modern project team setting?
That collective dynamic feels incredibly relevant today.
Yeah, it feels more important than ever in these complex work environments.
It absolutely does, perhaps more so than ever before. The Vaanaras experience underscores a strong, undeniable need for profound trust and seamless collaboration in modern teams, given the sheer complexity and interconnectedness of today's challenges. When teams face uncertainty and high stakes, whether it's developing a groundbreaking new product, navigating a severe market downturn, or responding to an unforeseen global crisis, collective decision-making, especially when it's supported by informed, transparent leadership, can guide those teams through the fog of uncertainty.
And it builds that unity you mentioned.
Yes, it fosters an incredible sense of unity and a truly shared sense of responsibility. It means that the burden of a difficult choice is shared, and the collective intelligence of diverse minds is fully leveraged.
So, practically speaking, how can organizations actually cultivate this level of trust and shared accountability, especially with diverse, maybe remote teams?
It's not easy, but it starts with things like transparent communication about both successes and failures, valuing diverse perspectives, actively soliciting them, and crucially, creating psychological safety. meaning an environment where everyone feels safe to speak up without fear of negative consequences, to challenge assumptions, even disagree constructively, and to admit mistakes without blame.
Okay.
Practices like regular retrospective meetings to discuss what went well and what didn't, or even implementing pre-mortems where teams proactively imagine all the ways a project could fail to identify risk beforehand, can build this deeper shared understanding and trust over time.
Interesting. Pre-mortems. I like that. Okay, let's talk about leading effectively under modern pressure. Given the Vaanaras story, I have to challenge the listener. What does truly effective modern leadership mean when you're under immense pressure?
Yeah, when the stakes are high for your project, your team, your organization.
What's the Hanuman masterclass in today's world?
Well, Hanuman's example provides an invaluable, timeless template for today's leaders. Effective leaders don't just dictate commands or make unilateral decisions in isolation. They provide reassurance, they offer clarity, and they illuminate the path forward.
They interpret the signs.
Exactly. They interpret complex data, the modern signs, that aren't always as clear as waterfowl or greenery, but might be intricate market trends, dense technical readouts, competitor movements, or nuanced client feedback.
And then they translate that.
Yes, they synthesize this information, translate it for their teams, and offer clear guidance. Critically, they instill confidence in their teams when fear, doubt, or even paralysis might otherwise take hold. This isn't merely about strategic acumen. It's about the profound ability to remain calm, rational, and make informed decisions even amidst chaos, and, importantly, inspiring that same composure in others.
Can you think of some modern challenges where this applies?
Sure, think about navigating a sudden, unexpected economic downturn that threatens layoffs, or responding to rapid technological shifts that threaten to disrupt an entire industry, or even just managing internal team conflicts that could derail critical projects and shatter morale.
Yeah, all high-pressure situations.
In all these scenarios, the leader who can provide rational grounding, clear, consistent communication, and unwavering belief in the chosen path forward, much like Hanuman, is the one who empowers their team to move forward with purpose, rather than succumb to indecision or panic. They become the unwavering anchor in the storm.
The anchor in the storm. I like that. Okay, next application. Cultivating persistence and adaptability today. We all know breakthroughs rarely happen without significant setbacks, right?
Absolutely, especially when you're venturing into the unknown.
The Vaanaras faced overwhelming darkness and disorientation after their initial courageous decision to enter the cave. The struggle didn't end. It just shifted form.
This vividly highlights the absolutely crucial role of persistence in adversity. Modern individuals and teams must cultivate an adaptable mindset, consistently supporting one another to navigate the inevitable challenges that arise. The journey to a significant reward is rarely linear or easy. There are always unexpected turns, periods of disorientation, moments where the path forward feels entirely obscured, almost like a fog.
So resilience is key.
Collective resilience, yes. The ability to stick together, maintain morale, and push through when things are tough. That is what truly leads to breakthroughs, even in what Kata calls the darkest times.
So what are some practical strategies for building this adaptability and persistence in our daily lives, our workplaces?
Well, it involves fostering a culture of continuous learning, where failure is seen as a learning opportunity, not some kind of endpoint to be feared.
Shifting the perspective on failure.
Exactly. It means maybe embracing agile methodologies that allow for rapid iteration and course correction rather than rigid adherence to a possibly flawed plan. And crucially, it means building strong interpersonal bonds and a genuine culture of mutual support.
That support network again.
Yes. When individuals feel genuinely supported, they're far more willing to take those persistent, difficult steps through the darkness, knowing their colleagues have their back and are navigating it with them.
Makes sense. Okay, final application point. Recognizing and embracing opportunities. As we reflect on the Vaanaras' ultimate unexpected reward, I have to ask you, the listener, are you truly open to the unexpected?
Are you actively looking for those bountiful rewards that might be just beyond the immediate obvious horizon, perhaps hidden behind a daunting challenge?
That's a good question.
This point perfectly closes the loop on the profound idea that taking calculated risks can sometimes lead to surprising and profoundly significant rewards. While caution is always a necessary and intelligent component in any decision-making process,
Sure, you need caution.
the Vaanaras tale, as retold by Kata, powerfully encourages a mindset of being open to unforeseen opportunities and, crucially, willing to step into the unknown when a careful assessment points to a positive likelihood.
So seeing potential where others see problems.
Exactly. It's about having the courage to see beyond immediate obstacles and to recognize potential. Connect this to modern personal and professional growth. Identifying market gaps that no one else has spotted. Pursuing innovative ideas that challenge conventional wisdom and risk failure.
Or just stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right. Deliberately stepping outside one's comfort zone to learn a new skill or network with different people, these are all forms of calculated risk. They can lead to unforeseen achievements that not only transform careers and lives, but also open up entirely new paradigms of success.
And the reward might be different than expected.
Often it is. The reward might not be exactly what you initially envisioned, but often it's something even better, something you couldn't have even imagined at the outset.
Okay, this is all incredibly insightful. So bringing it all together now in section 4, the should we? Question, a framework for risky decisions. What does this ancient wisdom truly mean when you are faced with a significant, truly risky decision in your own life, your career, or your team?
Yeah, how do we apply this profound narrative in a practical, actionable way right now?
What's the framework?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Vaanaras journey, as illuminated by Srini Kutta, teaches us that making risky decisions should always be this delicate, intelligent balance of necessity, informed assessment, and collective wisdom. The core principle is clear. Desperation should not drive hasty, ill-conceived choices that are just mere gambles.
Right. Avoid the panic button.
But well-calculated risks, when they are truly necessary and grounded in understanding, can and often do lead to significant breakthroughs and unexpected successes. It's not about avoiding risk entirely, which is impossible in a dynamic world.
Can't avoid it completely.
No. Instead, it's about managing it intelligently, understanding its nuances, and leveraging collective strengths for truly positive outcomes.
Exactly. And Katta's interpretation of this tale provides a fantastic, actionable checklist, almost a mental framework that modern individuals and teams can use when faced with these kinds of bold choices. So let's break it down, thinking about how you can apply each step.
Okay, let's list them out.
First, you need to evaluate the urgency and necessity of the situation. Ask yourself, is this risk truly required right now? What are the actual consequences of inaction? Is the status quo, as uncomfortable or maybe even as safe as it feels, actually more dangerous than the uncertainty of a new path?
That's a critical question. What happens if I don't do this?
Yeah. If you don't take this risk, what's the guaranteed outcome? Be brutally honest with yourself about the current trajectory. Second, gather as much information as possible to make informed decisions. Don't just guess or rely on instinct alone, especially when the stakes are high. Like Hahnemann, actively look for those subtle signs. Do your rigorous research, talk to experts, analyze the available data, seek diverse perspectives.
Turn it from a guess into an informed step.
Right. The more information you have, the less of a blind leap it becomes, transforming it into a more calculated step. But also, be mindful of analysis paralysis. Know when you have enough information to make a reasonably informed decision, even if it's not all the information.
Good point. Don't get stuck gathering data forever.
Third, trust and rely on collective wisdom and collaboration. You truly don't have to go it alone. Lean on your team, your professional network, your mentors, your friends, your family. Share your dilemma openly.
Talk about it.
Listen to different perspectives, even dissenting ones, and work to build a shared understanding of both the problem and potential solutions. Their collective insights can reveal blind spots you might have, illuminate entirely new paths, or simply offer the emotional support to sustain you through the uncertainty.
Leverage the group's brain power and support.
Fourth, prepare for persistence and adaptability in the face of adversity. Even with the best planning and a calculated risk, the path won't always be smooth. Anticipate setbacks, be ready to pivot when new information emerges, and cultivate the resilience to keep going when things get tough.
When you hit that darkness and disorientation phase.
Exactly. When the initial excitement fades and you find yourself in that overwhelming darkness, support those around you and expect that they'll support you too. Understand that persistence isn't just stubbornness, it's sustained, adaptable effort.
Adaptable effort. I like that.
And finally, fifth, be open to unexpected outcomes and opportunities. Even if you've meticulously planned for a specific reward, the actual outcome might not be exactly what you initially envisioned, but it could be something even better, something you couldn't have foreseen at the outset.
Embrace the possibility of a positive surprise.
Yeah. Embrace the possibility that a calculated risk can open up entirely new, incredibly positive avenues that expand your horizons far beyond your initial scope.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this powerful framework isn't about avoiding risk altogether, which, as you said, is impossible in a dynamic world. Instead, it's about managing it intelligently, with foresight and wisdom, leveraging collective strengths for optimal positive outcomes.
It's about empowering ourselves to step into the unknown with purpose, rather than being paralyzed by fear.
Well put.
Okay, Section 5. Practical wisdom for all ages, lessons for you. So, whether you're a young student contemplating your academic path, a professional weighing a significant career change, an entrepreneur deciding on their next big move, or a seasoned leader steering an organization through turbulent times.
This applies across the board.
Right. The Vaanaras' ancient tale, through Kata's brilliant insights, offers direct, actionable advice applicable to your own life right now. So first, evaluate necessity and risk. When you're facing a challenge, take a moment. Truly assess if taking a risk is necessary. Don't just jump in out of impulse. Weigh the potential benefits against the potential risks carefully and dispassionately before you make that decision.
Is the risk proportionate to the potential reward?
Exactly. And crucially, what are the consequences of inaction? Sometimes doing nothing is the riskiest choice of all. Second, trust and collaborate. Remember the Vaanaras and don't try to go it alone. Trust your team, collaborate effectively, and actively leverage others' strengths, perspectives, and experiences.
Pool your resources.
Working together, pooling resources, and relying on each other's diverse skills can help you overcome obstacles far more efficiently and creatively than trying to shoulder everything yourself. The burden is lighter, and the solutions are often richer and more robust. Third, seek wise leadership. Look for mentors, experienced individuals, or leaders who can provide guidance and reassurance. Just as the Vaanaras trusted Hanuman's observational skills and calm demeanor.
Find your Hanuman, so to speak.
Yeah. Find those in your life who have navigated similar challenges, who can offer insights, calm your fears, and help you navigate difficult decisions with greater clarity and confidence. Their experience can be a powerful beacon in the dark. Fourth, stay persistent and adaptable. Life will present challenges and setbacks, even after you've made a calculated leap. Be resolute in your efforts, but also be flexible and adaptable to changing circumstances.
Stick with it, but be ready to adjust.
Support each other through the tough times, and remain determined to achieve your goals, even when the path shifts, becomes obscured, or presents unforeseen obstacles. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back from a fall, it's about pushing forward, step by step, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. Fifth, be open to opportunities. Taking a calculated risk, grounded in sound assessment, can sometimes lead to incredibly unexpected, even transformative rewards. Be bold and embrace opportunities that come your way, but always carefully weigh the pros and cons.
Brave, but smart.
It's about being brave enough to explore the unknown, but smart enough to assess the landscape before you leap. And finally, a sixth point maybe. Learn from challenges. Every single challenge you face, regardless of the outcome, whether you succeed spectacularly or face a temporary setback, is a profound opportunity to learn.
Every experience is data.
Yeah. To gain invaluable insights and to improve your future decisions. What went right? What went wrong? How did you respond? How can you apply these hard-won lessons moving forward to your next great challenge? This continuous learning loop is perhaps the most powerful lesson of all.
Absolutely. The Vaanaras' tale powerfully reminds us of these timeless principles, their collective determination, their profound trust in informed leadership, and their unyielding persistence in the face of overwhelming adversity ultimately led them to a significant and truly unexpected reward. It transformed their desperate quest into a legendary journey of discovery. So what does this all mean for you as you navigate your own deep dives, your own complex challenges, and your own pivotal moments of decision?
What an incredible journey we've taken today. From the Vaanaras' desperate quest in an ancient forest to our modern-day boardrooms, startups, and personal dilemmas, Srinivas's brilliant retelling of the Ramayana has illuminated a powerful, practical roadmap for navigating life's most daunting challenges.
It really has.
It's all about intelligently balancing risk, fostering deep collaboration, and embracing wise, calm leadership when faced with those big, uncertain decisions.
The Vaanaras took a monumental step into overwhelming darkness, guided only by a glimmer of hope and profound collective trust. They didn't know for certain what lay ahead, but they took a calculated step forward together. We encourage you to reflect on this powerful narrative. What is your cave right now? What calculated risk are you currently facing that feels daunting and uncertain?
Hmm.
And critically, who will you bring with you or seek guidance from when you decide to take that courageous, calculated step into your own unknown?
A great question to leave our listeners with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into ancient wisdom for modern living. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making those calculated